This is CBC Here and Now.
Change in the weather pattern means a return to more winter-like temperatures, but not so much the winter-like weather.
The same number of politicians as people turned up for this protest about the PET scan in Corner Brook today.
This is not good enough, and we're standing up against a broken Liberal promise.
It's something that was indicated some years ago. It's going to be fulfilled.
I'll tell you how this gathering in downtown Corner Brook turned quite political.
A St. John's doctor is suing the health minister. Eye doctor Christopher Jackman claims John Haggie damaged his reputation. Coming up on Here and Now.
Welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. It was a big day for Northern Labrador. COVID-19 vaccination clinics are now open. The Moderna vaccine arrived in Makkovik this morning. And inoculations were underway by 9:30. Elder Willie Ford was the first resident in Nunatsiavut to receive the Moderna vaccine. Nunatsiavut's health minister says there's enough for every resident over the age of 18 living in the 5 northern Inuit communities. Vaccinations in Sheshatshiu and Natwashish are set to happen next week.
The people are, they're excited about it. There are always going to be some people who are hesitant, and that's expected. This is a brand new vaccine. This is a new pandemic, and but we're working diligently to educate the people. That's our job within public health, within DHSD to do this.
Well, more of my conversation with Health Minister Gerald Asivak ahead in about 30 minutes on Here and Now. So what about other areas in Labrador, and why are these communities the first to be fully immunized? Let's bring in Peter Cowan now, who is following along with today's COVID-19 briefing. So Peter, explain more about the vaccination plan in Labrador.
The first stop that we saw, Carolyn, for the south coast of Labrador was Black Tickle, and that's where Labrador Grenfell Health and nurses went in to administer people today. And it's important to point out that these are some of the first vaccinations that are happening with the Moderna vaccine, which is much more portable than the Pfizer one. In the community today, the medical officer of health for Labrador Grenfell Health says they immunized 69 of the 70 adults that are in that community. So he thinks this may in fact be the highest immunization rate in the world right now. We'd have to, who knows for sure, but it's a good sign that lots of people are taking the vaccine. They'll need a second dose in a few weeks. And there are plenty of logistical challenges to reaching these communities. They needed chartered aircraft and helicopters, and this is also one of the reasons why these areas are a priority. If we had outbreaks there are no doctors, there are no ICU beds. The impact is going to be a lot greater, and that's one of the reasons why these remote communities are some of the first where everyone, not just old people or healthcare workers, are getting the vaccine.
It's a big day for the big land, and this is a positive day for Newfoundland and Labrador in particular. The first COVID-19 vaccinations are being administered in Labrador today.
Now, not everyone is so thrilled with the province's response. I'll talk to the PC health critic about concerns that he has coming up a little later in the show. Peter Cowan, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, as Peter mentioned, vaccinations in central Newfoundland's long-term care homes started today. Here is Eva Oram smiling as she received her first dose, and Pearl Warren in Grand Falls, Windsor. They were among the seniors who received shots today. Central Health has started offering vaccinations in Carmelite House in Grand Falls, Windsor, and Lakeside Homes in Gander. A spokesperson says it's the first day that Central Health has been vaccinating inside the long-term care facilities. These are photos that family and friends of residents have definitely been waiting for. Well, the federal government has chosen not to exercise the option to buy as many as 16 million more doses of Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine. They say there will be enough doses without it. Some remain concerned about the pace of the vaccine rollout. One expert says efficiency will improve as vaccination moves to the general public.
Easier to get into a model more consistent with how we do the flu vaccine every year, which is you ship out the vaccine at various points, either pharmacies, family doctors' offices, or specialized clinics, and then the public comes to you rather than you having to go to the public.
The federal government maintains it will meet its goal of inoculating everyone who wants a vaccine by September, saying that target could even be reached ahead of schedule. Well, the federal government is sending out tax forms to people who have received COVID-19 benefits. The T4A forms are going into the mail today. They warn that benefit payments are taxable depending on a person's income. Ottawa is also moving ahead with legislation to close a COVID-19 benefit loophole. The Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit was meant to support those who tested positive for COVID-19 or who were isolating due to the virus, but critics say it allowed Canadians returning from personal vacations abroad to claim up to $1,000 in sick pay. As of January 3rd, those who vacationed, visited family, or traveled out of country for real estate matters are not eligible for support.
Well, temperatures over the weekend have returned to where we should be sitting this time of year, back down below zero for the majority of the island, even hovering around for Bonavista, same thing for Marystown, and then temperatures well below zero up through portions of Labrador. We're sitting under a ridge of high pressure right now, not a whole lot happening weather-wise. We are seeing some flurries along the west coast, not really being picked up by radar, but we're seeing that through areas of central as well. But the good news is over the next couple of days, we are in a quiet weather pattern. Jet stream takes a big dip, which is also why we're seeing these cooler temperatures. And all of the areas of low pressure are generally going to track south of us until we head to the weekend. We'll see a jump in that, or at least a push northward in that jet stream, which means some warmer temperatures and potentially some weather as well. I'll have all those details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. A protest demanding a PET scanner for Corner Brook's new hospital took on a strong political tone today. Of the 24 people who attended, half were politicians, including the organizer. Colleen Connors was there when the protest turned into a heated debate.
It started in the park with a dozen protesters. They walked along the busy streets during lunch hour, looking for support. They're demanding a PET scanner at the new hospital in Corner Brook.
Too many people from western, central, northern, southern, eastern Labrador have to commute across the island every single day to the Avalon Peninsula to receive services. This is not good enough, and we're standing up against a broken Liberal promise.
He's referring to 2014, when then opposition leader Dwight Ball said there would be a PET scanner in the city's new hospital when it opens in 2023. The Liberals won government a year later, and while there is space for the multi-million-dollar specialized equipment, the current health minister says the actual equipment and all that goes with it wasn't promised. Today, Liberal MHA Jerry Byrne went against his colleague, saying Corner Brook will get a PET scanner. Eventually.
It's going to be fulfilled. Yes, there is, a kind of a nuance about timing. But what has not changed is that we all recognize that a PET scanner is pretty important technology.
Byrne says only 2 people per month have to travel from the West Coast to St. John's for a PET scan.
Doctors may not necessarily be making those referrals given the travel that would be required. So, yeah, no, at this point in time, it's fairly small, but any number is large.
We need a PET scanner. It doesn't have to be a doctor. We're dying of cancer. People around here are dying of cancer.
You're laughing, Jerry.
Yeah,
funny,
that's a nice laugh.
Is it funny, Jerry? You're asking me questions. Have you ever had cancer, Jerry?
Organizer of today's protest and an NDP candidate says Byrne's answers aren't good enough, and he plans on making the PET scanner an election issue. Organizer Sutton Downey says that he was not pleased with today's protest, that it was not successful, and he did not get the answers that he was looking for. And he says that there's a really good chance that he will hold another rally in the days and weeks to come. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, the speculation about a winter election is persisting, and that raises some questions, such as how do the political parties and candidates plan to campaign during a global pandemic, when close contact is discouraged? As Terry Roberts reports, all 3 traditional parties believe it can be done safely, but it will be a campaign unlike any other we've ever seen.
Here's first-time candidate Shelley Moores. demonstrating how she plans to meet with voters at the door.
So this is how it will work for me in the district of CBS. I just want to make sure everyone is comfortable and knows that we are following the COVID guidelines. I'll be knocking on the door, then I'll be walking back 6 feet until the person that's there opens the door.
Are you comfortable with this scenario?
I am comfortable with this scenario, yes. I understand some people may not be.
But this campaign will largely be fought online.
We are going to use my social media, my Facebook and my Twitter and my Instagram accounts as much as possible, phone as many people as possible, and get as many people as we can from the community to know who I am and learn about me through Zoom calls and maybe Facebook Live, things like that.
Forget about seeing full-on campaign scenes like this. The famed Shearstown Brass Band is not welcomed during a pandemic. And for an eternity, politicians have glad-handed with seniors, eager to get their votes. But scenes like this are now a no-no.
I've already heard, actually, some apartment buildings say that they're not going to let people come in and campaign.
Another iconic campaign image, the tour bus emblazoned with the face of the party leader, crisscrossing the province. The PC say there likely won't be a Chess Crosby-themed bus.
I'd be surprised if our leader or any of the other leaders did that. I would suggest to you they shouldn't do it.
The Liberals say wait and see.
It's something that we'd like to wait till the writ drop to see in terms of unveiling our plan for the election.
A bus was never in the cards for the NDP.
We're not the type of party to, hold large rallies or put people on campaign buses or fly around the province.
And large gatherings like this, more likely to be replaced by a video conference. No need for large hotel ballrooms to accommodate hundreds of supporters. Party officials say election victory is important, but public safety is the #1 priority. 3 pandemic elections took place last year successfully, and Premier Andrew Furey won a by-election on the West Coast in October. Elections NL has adopted a set of strict rules, and parties appear ready to adapt to this new reality.
We're very confident as a party that we can adhere and follow the public health guidelines and make sure that we're carrying out the process in a safe way for everyone.
If the Premier decides to call an election sometime within the next couple of months and wants to do an election during a pandemic, we can do it, and we can do it safely.
We're ready. Let's get at it.
The big question now is timing, and the man who makes that call is not ready to say.
So we're accustomed to going to the polls on a Tuesday in this province, though there's some chatter about a possible Saturday election this time around. Easier access, for example, to larger venues such as schools where physical distancing can be more easily achieved. But don't count on a full weekend election, a Saturday and a Sunday, for example. Firstly, that would require legislative changes. And secondly, election officials tell me it would cost an extra $1 million. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the head of the province's francophone school board hasn't set foot in the province since March. Kim Christensen has been overseeing operations from Ontario despite written and verbal requests from the Department of Education to return to work at the board's head office in St. John's. Christensen, who's been executive director since 2016, declined CBC's request for comment. She relocated to Ontario at the beginning of the pandemic to be close to family. And while the education minister says he can't condone it, there's also not much he can do about it. The Francophone School District is an independent board.
We can't control that. She is not an employee of the department. The contract she has is with the Francophone School District. It is our expectation that if she is serving the Francophone School District of Newfoundland and Labrador, that she reside in Newfoundland and Labrador. But, that is for the Francophone School District to deal with the head of their school district. We have indicated to her that it is our expectation that she be here. That was communicated verbally as well as in writing.
Now, the opposition parties agree with the Liberals. They believe Christensen should come back to the province to do her job.
To simply say it's COVID is not good enough. There's all kinds of essential workers that are being brought into our province all the time. And surely the executive director of a school board would be considered essential. And I would think it is essential for that person to be on the ground in Newfoundland and Labrador.
You need to lead by example in this case. And I think really to be in touch with the day-to-day operations, you need to be on the ground for that. It's the top position in the francophone school district, and from my point of view, if that money is coming out of it's coming out of public funds, then really that person should be there in this position.
Now, the chair of the board of directors for the Francophone School Board says there's no reason Christensen has to come back to the province. The board says she's easy to reach and she's been working with office staff on a daily basis. Well, in other news, a St. John's doctor is suing a provincial cabinet minister and the province, claiming he was maliciously defamed. The case stems back to concerns the health minister raised about cataract surgery almost 3 years ago. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
In February 2018, Health Minister Dr. John Haggie told CBC News that officials were investigating reports that more than 20 people had paid directly out of pocket for a publicly insured service, cataract surgeries, something that he said, if proven true, would be a clear contravention of the Canada Health Act. Haggie didn't identify a doctor or location where this was alleged to have happened.
We're working through that with our hotline, as it were. It's not appropriate for me to name names because, as you can tell from my tone and the comments I've made, there are potential criminal activities involved here.
In January 2020, almost a year ago, eye doctor Christopher Jackman filed a lawsuit claiming defamation and seeking damages. It says it's clear that Haggie was speaking about Jackman because he was the only doctor operating a private surgical eye center in the province. It also says Haggie's comments maliciously alleged that Jackman was engaged in criminal activities. The court document says Jackman never billed MCP for cataract removals done at the Jackman Eye Institute in St. John's. Jackman's lawyer is former Health Minister Jerome Kennedy. Jackman isn't commenting now, but in 2018 he said his private clinic could help reduce long wait times for cataract surgery.
We could provide publicly funded outside of hospital tomorrow, as is done in other provinces, which would help eliminate wait lists.
Health Minister John Haggie's statement of defense says John Haggie didn't identify Dr. Christopher Jackman when he spoke with CBC. In fact, the statement of defense says all of Jackman's claims should be dismissed with costs. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, Nature Newfoundland and Labrador held its 5th annual Christmas bird count in St. John's over the weekend. Organizer Jared Clark says it's a way to connect children and families with nature, especially during the winter. The birds put on quite a show for the children when a northern goshawk, a large bird which normally lives in the forest, chased some pigeons. Clark says the annual bird count has been happening for 120 years and is the oldest citizen science project in the world. The data collected is sent to Birds Canada to help monitor winter bird populations. Climate change, he says, has shifted the distribution of migratory birds.
The things that we saw in the St. John's Christmas bird count, the adult version, were 7 species of warbler that were seen in St. John's in early January, and those are birds that should be way south of here right now and just can't survive our winters. And if you look at this really mild January that we're having, these birds were able to linger into the season much later. So those are the kinds of birds that are being impacted by this changing climate that we're seeing in winter and we normally wouldn't.
Yeah, not a whole lot of winter around, that's for sure. Taking a look at the roof cam right now, cold out there, a little bit of a wind chill as well, so if you're heading out, bundle up. These temperatures hovering around the 0-degree mark are going to stick around through the week. I'll have all those details coming up.
the vessel and the skipper who became legendary on the Labrador coast. The Topsail Star, Sunday at noon and Monday at 7.
Well, some pretty nice weather here in the east over the weekend. Nice and clear and pretty mild, but Labrador, some really messy weather up there, hey?
Yeah, late last week, we saw some pretty messy weather. Take a look at these incredible photos from Cartwright. 40 plus hours of freezing rain was recorded last week. It caused hundreds of trees, as you can see there, to bend and snap under a thick coating of ice. Take a look at those incredible photos.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, there's also several reports of telephone poles broken off and numerous down lines. And temperatures are expected to be well below zero this week, so it's going to stick around, but we may see some melting as we head towards the end of the weekend. So thanks to Robin Howell for Hallwell? Sorry for sharing those.
Wow, some great shots.
Yeah, that's a lot of ice. Yeah, those freezing rain warnings were in effect for most of us, but or for most of the southeastern portions of Labrador, but temperatures now well below zero. As you can see there, Cartwright minus 12, number of areas in Labrador seeing those minus teens. And then across the island, those minus single digits. There is a little bit of a wind chill out there, so if you're heading out over the next couple of hours for a little bit of a walk after supper, definitely bundle up. Minus 10, it's feeling more like in St. John's, and that will generally continue as we head through the overnight tonight. Taking a look at satellite radar, not a whole lot on the go. We've got a ridge of high pressure dominating. However, there are some flurries happening along the west coast and through central, just barely being picked up on the radar. That's pretty much going to be the story as we head through the overnight tonight, with that risk of a few flurries along the west coast through central, even eastern areas of the island seeing that. But generally clear skies expected up through Labrador with some pretty chilly temperatures as we head through the overnight, dipping down into the minus teens, so a few more degrees than what you're seeing right now. A little bit of a wind chill up there as well, with winds out of the west or southwest, 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. The winds will eventually ease on the west coast, but again, brisk winds will stick around for eastern areas of the island, and with a temperature near minus 4, you're looking at wind chills in the minus double digits as we head through the overnight tonight. Ridge of high pressure still dominates tomorrow, however, a little bit unsettled. It'll continue to be so with some cloudy periods through the day, the risk of some flurries, certainly along the west coast as well as the south coast, and then the Avalon could see a few flurries tomorrow. Overall, not a whole lot on the go up through Labrador. Maybe Lab West will see some flurries, but other than that, it'll be a fairly nice afternoon tomorrow with temperatures across the Big Land into the minus 10 degree range for Happy Valley Goose Bay, Cartwright minus 12. Same temperature as Happy Valley Goose Bay for Lab City, and then staying below zero for the island tomorrow. Again, that sunshine, few cloudy periods into the afternoon. Winds will generally be about 10 to 15 kilometers per hour, but a little bit more brisk as you head towards the eastern areas of the island. Northwesterlies somewhere between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour through the day. As we head through the afternoon on Wednesday, not a whole lot again going on. We've got an area of high pressure dominating. So just the chance of a few flurries sticking around. We'll see some light snow move in and across Labrador through Thursday morning, and then maybe some onshore flurries along the west coast. We start to get into the potential for either showers or flurries. Again, not amounting to too much. The area of low pressure is going to pass well south of the island, as you can see there, but into Friday morning is when we could see the risk of a few showers and or flurries through the day. Here's where your temperatures will be sitting on Wednesday, above zero, just above zero for eastern areas, maybe even the Burin Peninsula as well, which is why I have either showers or flurries in there for you. And then mix of sun and cloud with the chance of flurries for the rest of the island, with temperatures hovering around minus 1 to minus 3, and then into those minus double digits for most of Labrador as well. Lab City a little bit cooler, but minus 8 through the day on Wednesday. Same temperature as we head into Thursday for most of the Big Land. Again, quiet but unsettled, so a few flurries along the west coast, south coast, and eastern areas of the island as well. Again, hovering around 1 degree or just below for most of the island. Looking over the next couple of days, it is going to stay around those temperatures. Overnight lows not moving too much, so within 2-3 degrees for most of us over the next couple of days. that difference in temperatures. For central Newfoundland, you're looking at the sunshine on Thursday, and then Friday, the potential for some flurries or light snow. Saturday looks to clear out at this point, hovering around the 0-degree mark. A little bit more in the way of sunshine on Friday for areas in the west, but again, some sunshine will return on Saturday, with overnight lows dipping into the minus single digits. And then for eastern Labrador, his temperatures are going to stay here for now, around minus 8 to minus 12. But as we head towards the weekend is when we're going to see a little bit of a push of warm air. Sunday into Monday, looks like we could see a warm up right across the province with some rain in the forecast that likely will fall as snow for areas in the west. With your temperatures climbing, you can already see it there by Saturday, up into the minus 5-degree range. So something to look at as we head towards the end of the week. But look at this one, something to share right now. Sunset from the walking trail in CBS. Beautiful shot there, Betty. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And if you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, this holiday, a few hundred Newfoundlanders and Labradorians got a great gift, a trip home to be with their families. The province granted 341 travel exemptions in the month of December. Many came from parts of Canada where the pandemic is raging and daily life is greatly restricted. Here now, Zach Gowdy spoke with two people about their recent trips home. Both followed the 2-week isolation period upon arrival, and both have since left, not knowing when they will see their families again.
You know, I've seen a lot of negative connotations on Twitter and Facebook about people coming home, but they have no idea how, you know, alone you can be, not seeing your family for 11 months, only by video phone or thing. So it was amazing. It was surreal. Hi, my name is Tom Kennedy, originally from Bay Bulls, Newfoundland, and living in Nunavut for the last 12 months. I am currently just back from a Christmas vacation in Ottawa, quarantining for 2 full weeks before I go back to Iqaluit. The first couple of days I was there, I actually felt like a guest in my own house, if that makes any sense, because I was self-isolating downstairs. And it wasn't until after 2 weeks that I got to actually interact with everybody. So very excited about that. Hadn't seen my family for almost 11 months up to that point. When I moved to Iqaluit to work, it certainly was, I didn't think I was going to be stuck in Iqaluit for a full 11 months because of COVID. I actually went to Iqaluit probably about 3 weeks before the pandemic shut everything down in the country. A lot of provinces didn't allow people to come back for Christmas. I was extremely lucky, very fortunate. I almost felt guilty when I left Iqaluit on December 4th, and I had to say goodbye to my friends, and almost every one of them were like, you don't realize how lucky you are.
I just didn't want to leave. I don't know when I was going to be able to come back again.
What does it feel like now that you're back and you're living with all those restrictions again?
It's back to reality, like a slap across the face again. Hi, I'm Shelley. I work in Alberta. I have a house, a child, and husband in Newfoundland. I used to travel home to my son and my husband once a month, but since the pandemic started, I can only get home, because I have to quarantine for 2 weeks, I can only get home twice a year because I have to take so much time off of work.
What was it like for you coming from a place where there are so many more cases of COVID, where you live with so many more restrictions?
It's like a different world. It's like a different world altogether. I mean, I even went and got my hair done because I can't get my hair done up here in Fort McMurray. Everything is shut down flat up here. It's nice to have that human interaction, because up here I have one other person I'm allowed to communicate with. I can go shake a hand or get a hug from. But down there I had many. I had family, I had friends over. It was absolutely amazing. My son is only 10 years old, so it's hard on him with mommy not being around. Today is actually his birthday, and I just get there. Enjoy every minute you have down there. Spend as much time as you can with your loved ones. Don't take a minute for granted.
I would say cherish every moment, do not take it for granted, and be vigilant and cherish every second you have.
The COVID-19 vaccine is now being distributed in parts of Labrador. Well, joining me now is Nunatsiavut's Minister of Health and Social Development, Gerald Asivac. So this is a very big day. The first vaccine was administered this morning. What was the mood like there today?
From what I heard, I've been speaking with Yanukovych in Makovic, and he said the mood is great. People are very happy, anxious, and excited that the vaccine has finally arrived, and there's a very high uptake. So everything's going as planned and smoothly.
Can you talk more about that uptake? How many people are getting this vaccine, and is everyone on board?
I don't have the exact number, but I do know that all our 5 Inuit communities, anyone over the age of 18 and up, will be able to get the vaccine. Last week, we're meeting with seniors and informing them of the vaccine, the plan, the rollout, and doing some pre-screening. A lot of people are going in through the building to get vaccinated, There are 6 stations to get vaccinated and 1 nurse who is doing the screening. The first dosage was to an elder in Macovik, Willie Ford, and the other dosages as well will be for seniors and healthcare workers, and then the general population, anyone age 18 and over.
What are some of the challenges that you're facing with distributing the vaccine in some of the remote areas?
The weather's been our biggest friend this morning. The skies were clear. It was a nice, cool January morning. That would be our biggest factor right now. We continue to plan to go into the other 4 Inuit communities right up until Saturday and have a high vaccine rate done. Depending on the size of the community and location, some are at town halls or rec centers, and they've been advance notices sent out through public health. Transportation is available if needed via snowmobile. They just have to request it, and like I said, there's been pre-screening beforehand, so we've been getting the communication out there through our local offices.
Can you talk about the kinds of conversations that are being had with people in the community? You know, maybe some of the questions that people have about how the vaccine works?
Yes, there's been a lot of communication through the Department of Health and Social Development through public health. Like I said last week, they've been into the actual homes of people explaining what the vaccine is, what it does, the prevention of COVID, coronavirus, and even some, general information. We've also been sharing it on Facebook and interviews on the radio and flyers. People are, they're excited about it. There are always going to be some people who are hesitant, and that's expected. This is a brand new vaccine. This is a new pandemic, and but we're working diligently to educate the people. That's our job.
What is your message to Nunatsiavut residents about getting the vaccine?
We've been waiting for this for a while. It happened last month when we got the news that it was going to go to our Inuit communities, and we were very ecstatic. So I'm strongly encouraging people to please look after yourself, your families, and your communities. Get vaccinated. If you're still unsure of it, that's what the healthcare workers or public health nurses are there for. To ask questions, and please do your part and get vaccinated.
Well, Gerald Asiavak, thank you so much for speaking with me about this.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Vaccinations are rolling out today on the north coast of Labrador and in long-term care homes in central and eastern Newfoundland. But the opposition is raising concerns that the vaccinations just aren't happening fast enough. David Brazel is the healthcare critic for the PCs, and he's with me now. So can you explain for me, what concerns do you have about the speed of these vaccinations?
You know, we were one of the first provinces to shut down. We've done yeoman service. We're the ones who basically did everything possible. The people in Newfoundland and Labrador sacrificed to ensure that the rest of the country were safe here. And we've done what we were instructed to do, and people followed the rules. What we're saying is, what an opportunity with the geographics we have in Newfoundland and Labrador and the demographics. We have an older population. We have a less healthier population. We have some remote, isolated communities that have very minimal access to healthcare. So if we ramped up two things: the number of vaccines we have and the speed at which we're vaccinating people, that would ensure that people are safer in Newfoundland and Labrador, and that we could ourselves kickstart the economy in this province quicker than anywhere else. And instead of always waiting to go west to east for things to happen in this country, we'd go east to west, because we've already proven that our process in Newfoundland and Labrador and what the people of Newfoundland and Labrador sacrificed was to keep people safe, and we've done that. We've done our part for the country. Now we're asking to not even be rewarded. We're asking for our just entitlement to ensure that we can keep our long-term care patients safe. We can keep our first responders safe. We can keep our most vulnerable safe. We can keep our healthcare workers safe. And in a number of cases, we have rotational workers that are key to our economy, but are also, unfortunately, because of the basis that they're based at and where they work, are more susceptible to getting the virus and then coming back here and having to isolate. So if they were also part of the bigger spread of a vaccine process, then everybody would be safer.
How do you respond to the criticism from the Premier, who says you're playing politics with healthcare?
Well, there's no politics in healthcare. What it is about is prioritizing healthcare. And we've said this from day one. It's ironic that the Premier would say that, because if we go back to the first establishment of the pandemic committee, the process and the decisions made were all based around keeping people healthy and ensuring that we best were equipped to get through the pandemic. We've done that. Now, all of a sudden, there's a change in their mentality or their approach to things when it comes to saying we're playing politics. No, we're saying Newfoundlanders and Labradorians are entitled to the vaccine. We need a process to get it out as quick as possible. There's no reason to delay it. I know we're part of this great country of ours, but at the end of the day, our first priority has got to be the health and safety of the people in Newfoundland and Labrador. Why would we not make that our priority? If I'm the government of Newfoundland and Labrador, I would make that a priority. As the member for Conception Bay East Belleville, my priority is to ensure that the people in my district are safe. I would hope the Premier would do that for the people in Newfoundland and Labrador also.
Thank you very much for joining me and sharing your concerns.
Thank you, Peter, and everyone stay safe.
David Brazel is the health critic for the PCs. How does the government respond? Well, I put these concerns to them at this afternoon's briefing.
And it's playing politics with health, first of all, and that's inaccurate. And we have one of the best public health teams in the world, arguably, given our results to date, and we continue to put our trust in them. This isn't always about speed. Given the epidemiology, it's about getting it right to protect the most vulnerable. We have our trust and we should have trust in our public health officials. And frankly, the vaccines, the way that we've rolled them out, some of it has been skewed slightly statistically and just on the law of just by doing straight up averages, which is not reflective of where we are in the vaccination process, such as the 2,400 Moderna vaccines, which we've been rolling out to the vulnerable communities and Indigenous communities today. That took some time to get to those communities, but it's also reflective of the fact that it's their responsibility to fully distribute this, and we're there to support them. And today was the first day that they felt they were able to, given language translation issues and other cultural issues that we fully respect, that they would be able to roll out the vaccine. So the numbers are a little skewed.
U.S. House Democrats are ratcheting up pressure to oust Donald Trump following last week's deadly attack on Capitol Hill. They swiftly moved on 2 resolutions today. One, a threat to impeach a sitting president for an historic second time. The other, calling on the vice president to invoke constitutional authority and remove his boss from office. CBC's Thomas Degla has the details.
To activate Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to declare President Donald J. Trump incapable of executing the duties of his office.
In the House of Representatives, the confrontation lasted only a minute, but it could have lasting consequences as Democrats move to oust the sitting president.
For what purpose does the gentleman from West Virginia rise?
I object. Republicans objected to removing Trump through the 25th Amendment. It remains a long shot. So some Democrats are now turning their attention to impeachment. They accuse the president of inciting an insurrection after directing his supporters last week to Capitol Hill, resulting in that deadly riot. In the new article of impeachment, Democrats say Donald John Trump, by such conduct, has demonstrated that he will remain a threat to national security, democracy, and the Constitution if allowed to remain in office.
Impeachment is really the tool that we have as the House of Representatives, and it's the tool that we can exercise most immediately for what I think is a present and looming threat.
Thousands of National Guard troops are being deployed to Washington as the city braces for more violence ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration.
Our goals right now are to encourage Americans to participate virtually and to protect the District of Columbia.
Already, the Washington Monument has been shut down 9 days before the inauguration as the FBI warns of plans for armed protests in the Capitol and across the country. Trump himself remains uncharacteristically quiet. Banned from social media, he's planning a return to the spotlight tomorrow with a trip to his border wall in Texas.
The House of Representatives could move forward with the next steps in the impeachment process on Wednesday. Impeachment could take weeks, but the final result may be for Donald Trump to be barred from running for federal office ever again. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Washington.
Well, back in this country, Canada's telecom regulator has kicked off a review of CBC's application to renew its broadcasting licenses. Officials representing the public broadcaster say it needs greater flexibility to meet the audience shift toward online platforms.
The silos of traditional television, radio, and digital are no longer relevant when audiences move seamlessly between them. Our goal for this license renewal is to put audiences first, regardless of the platforms they use.
Due to pandemic restrictions, the nearly 3-week-long hearing is a virtual one. The 5-member CRTC panel is first hearing from the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Starting Friday, interveners, those who support or oppose CBC's application, will get to have their say. And on January 27th, the CBC will be allowed to respond and give its closing remarks. Well, a father and son team of inventors claims Tim Hortons has stolen their idea for a COVID-safe lid applicator. They say they pitched their design to the chain but couldn't reach a deal. Then they spotted a Tim's employee using something that looked exactly like their invention. Here's the CBC's Diane Buckner.
Father and son team Yolande and Sean Talbot thought they had scored an incredible deal with Tim Hortons.
It was just to find a way to have a safe coffee.
At the start of the pandemic, Yolande saw a server handle his payment, then the lid of his coffee cup.
Has to be a different way.
He designed a hands-free beverage lid applicator to reduce the risk of COVID contamination.
Essentially, the barista would hold on to the ring and they apply it to the lid and then it's applied to the coffee.
They applied for a patent and were thrilled when executives at Tim's asked for hundreds of samples to be tested in stores.
Every step it received a 100% approval rating.
There was talk of a purchase order worth as much as $800,000, but the deal fell apart in July over exact pricing. The Talbots moved on to make sales at other restaurants. Then a few weeks ago, they stopped to get a coffee at a Tim Hortons just outside Toronto.
At first, couldn't believe it.
Servers were using a similar device, not theirs, in a different color. And it turns out it's in use at a number of locations across Canada. In a statement to CBC News, Tim Hortons says multiple vendors submitted similar inventions. It's absolutely not true they took the Talbot's design.
They're virtually identical.
But this independent product designer says the new Tim's device looks pretty much the same as the Talbot's invention. Kevin Bailey tried an experiment. He asked 3 of his firm's designers to create lid applicators to see if the ring design is so obvious multiple designers would think of it. They even made one of them.
But the design is significantly different than these 2 designs, and so were the other 7 designs.
Yolande and Sean Talbot are beyond disappointed.
They hold all the power. You signed their contracts. You give away your intellectual property rights, and that's something that we never signed.
They could consider suing Tim's, but only if their patent is eventually granted. And if they can afford the expense of a lawsuit, they may not win. Diane Buckner, CBC News, Collingwood, Ontario.
Welcome back. Well, if you're looking for a little outdoor exercise this winter while keeping a safe social distance, disc golf may be the thing for you. It's all the rage apparently on PEI, and it's pretty simple. You basically just throw a disc at a specific target. It's like kind of like Frisbee, I guess. The sport grew in popularity over the summer and remains strong even in the colder winter months as a way to socialize safely.
Side, first of all, so I mean that it's very easy to distance yourself. There's lots of space. Even if you're throwing your disc, which is very unlikely in the same spot that somebody else is, you're still able to keep that distance. There's no problem to, and you can keep your conversation going and have lots of laughs and lots of fun.
Definitely a COVID-friendly sport to try out this winter. Like Frisbee, horseshoes, sort of put together.
Yeah, the only thing that would get in the way of that is the wind.
Yeah, something we have a lot of.
A lot of wind, yeah. Not the case, though, as we head through the next 24 hours at least. Good. Winds are going to stay strong tonight, but then ease off. Let's take a look at the future tracker there. Not a whole lot of happening weather-wise tonight. Some flurries along the west coast and potentially across the island as well. Shouldn't amount to much. And as we head through the day tomorrow, we may see a few flurries along the west coast as well as the south coast, but overall it will be a quiet afternoon with temperatures hovering in and around where we should be this time of year, around -2 for St. John. Similar temperatures, even a degree colder as you head towards central and the west coast, and then back down to the minus double digits across most of the big land with plenty of sunshine and a few flurries in the west.
It looks like a great day coming. Have to bundle up a bit, but we've had such nice weather lately. It's been amazing.
It's hard to complain.
It really, really is. Well, that's it for us tonight. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you'll be back here again tomorrow.
Good night.